Title: The Silent Archives. The SCP Foundation had long been surrounded by hushed whispers and conspiratorial tales. Most people considered it an urban legend, an organization dedicated to containing the unexplained, unusual, and often dangerous entities that lurked in the shadows of reality. However, for Mia Reyes, the tales became all too real the night she slipped past the security of the Foundation's containment site on the outskirts of a sleepy town. Mia had been obsessed with the SCP Foundation for years, ever since her older brother, Alex, had introduced her to the online entries. He had always been a skeptic, and they would argue late into the night about the plausibility of the entities described, but to Mia, they were as real as her own reflection. When she learned about a particularly intriguing SCP, one that supposedly contained a record of every other entity, her curiosity overwhelmed her reason. How could something hold the secrets of the universe? It was a rainy night when she finally made her move. Dressed in a dark hoodie and jeans, Mia slipped through the back of the old library, where she was sure the entrance to the Foundation's underground network was hidden. Guided by rumors and half-heard stories from online forums, she followed the flickering lights down dimly lit corridors. Though excitement coursed through her veins, anxieties clawed at her mind. What if she got caught? What if the SCP entities were real? The air was thick with silence, and the darkness squeezed around her like a heavy blanket. She traced her hand along the cold steel walls, fascinated and terrified. Just when her mind teetered on the edge of turning back, she rounded a corner and found herself in front of a massive door, marked by faded steel letters. ARCHIVE 47. The door creaked open at her tentative touch, revealing a vast chamber filled with rows upon rows of files and binders, all meticulously labeled. A flickering overhead light illuminated the dust motes hanging in the air. Mia's heart raced as she stepped inside. This was what she had come for. The heart of the Foundation's knowledge. As she began to sift through the documents, she read about entities that could warp reality, creatures that lived in shadows, and phenomena that defied all logic. Each one felt more terrifying than the last, until she could no longer feel the thrill of adventure. It dawned on her that she was treading too deep into things better left alone. Her fingers trembled as she reached for a thick, weathered binder labeled SCP-001. The cover had markings, scratches and stains that told stories of their own. She forced herself to open it, flipping through fragile pages filled with hastily written notes and ominous diagrams. The ink seemed to writhe on the paper, and a chill ran down her spine. It detailed an ancient entity, known only as the Forgotten, which consumed the very essence of knowledge. She felt a sudden weight on her chest, as though the air was thickening around her. It was different from before, no longer just a collection of tales, but a palpable force that stilled her breath. In panic, she tried to close the binder, but it felt as if something was holding it open against her will. Whispers, echoing through the chamber, ensnared her mind. Knowledge is not meant to be free. A voice slithered through the air, breathy yet firm. You should not have come here. Mia tried to stumble back, but it was as if the ground had turned to liquid beneath her feet. Shadows encroached from the corners, curling and creeping towards her, vibrating with a hunger that sent icy fingers creeping up her spine. The files began to rustle violently despite the stillness. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around her like chains. Restore the balance, it urged, and her vision was filled with a swirling vortex of ink and paper, tumbling and tearing like a void hungry for its secrets. Understanding flickered in her mind. Every clue she had chased had led to this moment of truth, this terrifying genesis of terror. The weight of the knowledge she had sought turned into a burden she couldn't bear. Panic gripped her, urging her to flee from the hold of the Forgotten. In a moment of sheer desperation, she turned to the chaos and screamed, "I didn't want to know." The moment her words ruptured the charged air, the darkness recoiled. The shadows dissipated into nothingness, and the whisper faltered, as if it had drawn back from the shock of her outburst. Gasping for breath, Mia dropped the binder, and as she stumbled back, the room began to collapse around her. Documents formed together like a tidal wave, their sinister whispers fading into silence. Mia bolted for the door, plunging her way back through the corridor, ignoring the chaos behind her. She emerged into the night, into the rain-soaked streets that felt impossibly bright in comparison. The haunting whispers of the archive faded with every step away from the Foundation. Weeks passed, and the experience lingered in her mind, a horror that refused to die. No one would believe her, and the world continued on, blissfully ignorant. Yet at night, shadows flitted around her bedroom, and the ghostly whispers crept back during her quiet moments. She could never truly escape the forgotten, because some knowledge is never meant to be uncovered.